Good morning. Good morning. Give me just a second to make sure I've hit live in all the spots. And then let me pull this up on my phone. All right, there we are. Hold on. Okay. All right. Got it set up and got things to do today. So I will be going through this pretty quickly, but I want to make sure that I touch on all the delicious points that I wanted to make. Before I do, I want to make sure that I share that tonight, anybody that is an entrepreneur that's in this group, or and any entrepreneur that's watching, whether it's live or the replay, tonight I am, Christine and I are hosting a little mini workshop on how to make money with your Linktree account. And so if that's something that you're interested in, definitely let me know and you'll get the invite. And I had someone on that was live on YouTube the other day, and I'm supposed to send them a link and I can't find them anywhere. So hopefully you'll see this, and you can reach out to me. You can, if you're on Facebook, definitely friend request me on Facebook. And if it's possible, we might live stream into YouTube this evening, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make that work, because StreamYard has a little bit of limitations of how many people can be on the actual screen to be able, and so for the level that I'm at anyway, I will say. Tonight, 5:30 p.m. Eastern is our How to Make Money from Linktree event challenge workshop. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So if that's something that intrigues you, you want to know a little bit more, then definitely show up for that. There, I believe I did put the event in the Stand Up and Stand Out community and a couple other communities. So definitely check that out. But you can always reach out to me personally and say, hey, I want to go. I did have some people yesterday that reached out and I just shot them the link. So if that's something that you want to do, just reach out and I will take care of that. And then the other thing is, for those that don't remember, I had a little bit of a snafu last week with our earlier this week when Monday I rescheduled our time because I had a class to go to, right? Well, it was wrong week. So that is actually this upcoming Monday that I'll be in class. So I'm once again going to be moving our 3 o'clock live, 3 o'clock Eastern live to 10 a.m. Eastern, so that I can be there for you guys, but I can still attend this class because it's really, really a good business class that I want to make sure I am there. All right, so I think that's it for now. So let's go ahead and jump to it. All right. So our affirmation for today is, I am open to growth, even in the smallest moments. Now, we've had a few about growth recently, just because that's a place that I'm at. And from the census of what a lot of people are talking about and sharing with me, a lot of people are in this growth phase of their life and their business. So it's not always business. It can be your personal life, your relationships, right? We grow in every avenue of our life, not just business. Because if we're only growing in our business and we're not growing anywhere else, then we're not going to be successful for very long. So just remember, growth is every avenue of our lives, right? So I am open to growth, even in the smallest moments. Every experience is an opportunity to learn, evolve, and become more of who I truly am. Mm. Now, doesn't that sound great, right? And I like to talk about the fact that life is like a symphony, right? There's notes that are being played all the time. I talk about the vibration, the frequency of everything. So just imagine those as notes, and there's notes just floating all over the place. And as we come into certain growth opportunities, there are notes that we can take and we love them. And there's notes that we take and then it's a little flat, it's a little sharp, it doesn't really fit with where we're at. We kind of let them go and we get another one. So we're open to growing in whatever shows up, but we have discernment to see what works for us, right? What's important. Because just if you're an entrepreneur like I am, one of the things that happens to most entrepreneurs is they see everything, all these opportunities, but they have a little bit of a harder time, speaking from experience, to decide what's really useful to me and what just feels fun to learn, what just feels good in the moment. But it's really a way, sometimes can be an avoidance thing. It can be a tool for procrastination when you have an agenda of things that you want to do in your life and your business, especially your business, and you keep grabbing onto these shiny objects and starting this and starting this. Sometimes it's procrastination, keeping you from doing the thing that you said you were going to do. Now, sometimes it's just your ability to switch from one thing to the other and do it gracefully, right? I don't know if you remember that not too long ago, I had my human design done. And one of the things that I used to be told all the time when I was younger was that I didn't, and even when I got older, that I didn't stop. I didn't complete things. And some of it was true, that I would start something and then I would kind of get like, I'm not feeling this. And I would just move on. I might go back to it later. Maybe, sometimes, maybe not. I've probably got several courses right now that are in my folders that I haven't completed because I lost interest in them. But see, I found out when I had my human design done that was one of my gifts, that I could move quickly to something else as soon as I realized now's not the right time. This is not what's the pressing thing for me to do right now. And I used to chastise myself for that. But now I look at it as a gift. I can move on to the next thing and then make a decision. If I want to go back and pursue that more, I can. And so I've done that with a lot of things. I've gone away. I know one course that I'd signed up for, I went away for a year. And then I popped back in and said, now I'm ready to go ahead and finish this course. Now, you can't do it with those things that are, time restraints. But the ones that are virtual, where you can stop and start anytime you want to, those are really, really amazing to do that kind of thing with. Because sometimes it's just like, it's not resonating right now. Let me do something that feels like it's moving the needle where I want it to go and not busy work. And then later on, that's no longer busy work. It's something that moves the needle. So it's getting into this place where you evolve into this place where you know what's the right thing, right? So the entire time you are open to growth, even those little small moments. And remember, sometimes opportunities show up as obstacles. So anytime you're going through something that doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel like this is not what I asked for, it could be exactly what you ask for, because it's the growth, the catalyst that gets you where you want to go. And I say this quite often, that anytime I have something now that I didn't always, but anytime I have something that comes up and it's like, oh my gosh, this is not an easy thing to go through, I recognize that, man, oh man, when I get to the other side of it, that's going to be such an amazing transformation story. And so then I start looking at it from a different lens of how can I get the growth out of this so that I can share it later? And so I would invite you to play with that a little bit too. That's a growth there, right? It was definitely a huge growth experience for me, to change things from being the victim to being the lesson, and how can I help someone else with this lesson, right? But every experience we have is an opportunity to learn, to evolve, and just become more of who we truly are. Mm-mm-mm. All right, so let me go ahead and share this journal prompt. Let's see if it all shows up. I think so. Okay, there we go. So our journal prompt for today: what small moment recently taught you something about yourself? Now, we all have them. There's something we're always being taught if we're open to it, right? So reflect on how everyday experiences, conversations, challenges, or even quiet pauses are guiding you toward deep self-awareness and growth. And, every conversation you have, there's something to be learned from it. And, I shared recently how I sent out, I was changing all the how everything was set up in the calendar. And when I was doing all of that, it started every time. I didn't realize that every single time I was switching something, it was sending out a whole new invitation, and it was doing it and doing it and doing it. I didn't know. But the thing that was crazy about it was there's a little place that you can check if you want to have everybody's email included, or you can not check it and nobody's email is included, right? Well, mine was not checked, but it was sending everybody's email anyway. And I got messages. There was two people that were quite upset about the whole thing, and they wanted to be removed from the list, and they were upset. And, rightly so. We don't want our email out there for everybody to see. And in the past, that would have derailed me. But what that taught me this time, because there's a lesson in everything, right? It taught me that, I have to be aware. I even second guessed myself and went back and looked. Well, did I accidentally check that? But it wasn't checked. So it was a glitch with Google. But in the beginning, I was taking full ownership of it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And then I even, when sent out my newsletter, I said that I had accidentally checked it, but I didn't. So what that taught me was that things don't always go exactly as you planned. And maybe one of the things that it did was there was some people on there that their emails were not correct any longer. I was able to remove them from the list. And then the people that were upset, I removed them from the list. So maybe it was just a way to get some people out of the list. I don't know. But it did help me to see that I was so quick to take ownership of what happened, that it was me, that I did it. I did something wrong. And I felt about this big, right? But the thing that I realized when I went and checked was it wasn't me at all. Now, it was me when it did it several times, because I didn't realize that it was doing it every time. The thing that wasn't me was putting everybody's email in there, right? And so it taught me that I am so quick to blame myself for things before I even look to see what happened. And that's changing, right? Because from now on, if something happens, I will say, oh, I really hate that happened. Let me see what caused that, to see if I even needed to take ownership of it. And by ownership, I mean blaming myself, right? Now, I will take ownership that I did the whole process and Google had a glitch. But I was so quick to blame myself, so quick to feel so small, so quick to feel berated, so quick to almost going to, I probably shouldn't even be doing this. It was so instantaneous. So that was an amazing epiphany for me. I didn't realize how quickly I blame everything on me without even knowing why it happened. Like I said, that won't happen anymore, right? If I even start to think that, I will pop out of it. That was an amazing lesson that I learned. And so maybe you do the same thing. I have no idea. But if you do, please, please rethink that and look at it so that you can be more powerful for yourself. So when we reflect on how everyday experiences, conversations, challenges, or quiet pauses are guiding us toward deeper self-awareness and growth, right as whatever comes up. Because like I said, I would not have even thought of that as a growth thing until I got to this actual journal prompt. I didn't even notice. All right. So let's go back to the affirmation. And remember, put this on your index card, the screensaver on your phone, your sticky notes, put it somewhere that you'll see it. I am open to growth, even in the smallest moments. Every experience is an opportunity to learn, evolve, and become more of who I truly am. And just breathe into that one, right? And then, and just one more time, anybody that's here watching live, you can go ahead and say something in the chat and join in the conversation. And if you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. I would love to know what your thoughts are and how this might move you. And then I got some really cool things that I'm going to be talking about, sharing with you guys. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but just keep watching because I've got some good things coming up. All right, so now let's get to our journal prompt. And make sure what I always recommend is you get the notebook out, your journal out, put the date, the affirmation, and the journal prompt, and write them out. And then set a timer for like 10 to 15 minutes. And before you hit go on the timer, you are going to say the affirmation and the journal prompt out loud with feeling. So what small moments recently taught you something about yourself? Reflect on how everyday experiences, conversations, challenges, or even quiet pauses are guiding you toward deeper self-awareness and growth. And list out whatever comes up. What are those conversations, the challenges or the quiet pauses? What are they? What are those experiences that are guiding you toward the deeper self-awareness and growth? And how does it feel as you can sit in that growth space and look at these things, right? So once you've said this out loud, and I know I added some stuff to it, so don't worry about it. But after the timer goes off, then you pick up your pencil, your pen, and you just start writing. And be very aware when you start trying to critique or judge what's coming up, because what we want, that silence gets you tapped into your inner guidance, your God voice. And most of the time, our minds are so busy thinking about what all it's done, what it needs to do, something that's happened, that hasn't happened, right? That we can't hear that inner guidance. We can't hear that gut that going on. We can't hear that God voice speaking to us. And so we're really tapping into opening ourselves up to be able to listen and hear all that dialogue that's coming at us to help us to grow, to become who we want to be. Sometimes it's a guiding voice to just move us and pivot us into a different lane, right? So most of the time, we can't even hear it. So do this. Set your timer for 10 to 15 minutes. Just listen to your breath, quiet the chatter, and then write down everything that comes up. No judgment, no critiquing. And just brain dump everything. And when the timer stops, when the timer goes off, you're going to be feeling so good as you begin writing all of this out, right? And, like I said in the beginning, when I started doing this, I couldn't really tap in. So I would write, I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm supposed to be writing here. What is my inner voice telling me? And I would just write things like that because to me, nothing was coming up, but my mind was so filled with chatter that it hadn't had that opportunity. So play with it. Exercise that muscle of tapping in. And you'll be so glad you did. All right. So you have an amazing day, and I will see you again on Monday. And remember, I'm switching that to 10 a.m. Eastern for that Monday. And then we'll reevaluate and see, does the 3 o'clock still work for everybody? What's going on? And I don't know. It's all up for, there's nothing set in stone, I guess, so to speak. So I'm really navigating all of this, trying to figure out what works the best. So you let me know if you have a preference of morning or midday. Is 3 o'clock considered midday? I guess so. So if you have a preference, let me know. And I can see if there's a census that a lot of people prefer the morning. Maybe I'll switch back to the morning for our Monday. And we'll just see what happens. All right. So go ahead, have this conversation with yourself. I am open to growth. So, all right, get planted today, get watered, and do some growing. Mwah.